Good evening to the millions of football fans worldwide looking for your nostalgic football fix on a day where credit to Man City and Liverpool for entertaining as a nice aperitif for what's about to happen tonight. Credit as well to Spurs. They did what they had to do to get into the Champions League next year. Leeds managed to stay up. And Burnley went down. So the Premier League did their bit to whet the appetites for what not so much myself, as you can hear the voice is still not 100% back. So the Premier League have done their best to whet the appetite for what Duggan is going to offer you tonight. How are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, good to be here. How are you doing?
I'm very well. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on again, sir. As we were saying off air, it's been a little while, so I'm looking forward to this. And I can see that your post earlier today has garnered lots of questions to answer throughout the evening, which I look forward to posting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Just go through the list I can see in the chat. Evening, Martin, Jens, Dimble, Maka, Alf, Rob, Dimbledon, Liam Piers is in again. I don't know what's happened to Tato Mourinho, but Liam Piers is doing a good job of turning up every game week. Ian Campbell as well. Alf's already having some sort of issues. Black screen and buffering. I've got a solid connection and no issues. Is anyone else having issues before we get into this? Everything looks absolutely fine my end. So if anyone can just confirm, although Alf does say he's refreshed and everything does seem to be okay. Let's have a brief word. We were just talking about it off cam or off air, Duggan, but you were saying nothing but pride in Liverpool's season this year.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think when you get to our age and you've kind of watched football for as long enough as we have, I think there's got to be something seriously wrong with you if you haven't got that sense of perspective.
Yeah.
And ridiculous season by Liverpool, and the future of football is sadly going to be teams like Man City and PSG, probably Newcastle, those sports washing teams that are laying down ridiculous bids and ridiculous bits of money. I know there was a chat in the manager thread before about the fact that teams have always spent money, and I kind of accept that, but the Mbappe deal, the Haaland deal,
well, that's
City.
why we were, for those who were on, that's why we brought up the Dragons basic wage screen, because me and you were talking about, you were giving me the first half of the Mbappe. Like, I'd read the whole thing about the La Liga statement, but I'd missed the whole thing about his £1 million signing on fee, £1 million a week contract.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And City, fair play to City, great team, great players, great coach. They deserve it to finish top of the pile. But
they always say that you can't fluke a season, can you? Like, you can fluke perhaps a cup run, but you can't fluke a league campaign.
Yeah, but let's be honest. This is a team that's meant to be the biggest commercial revenue generating team in the world, and undersells its home stadium every week by about 3,000 tickets. Just about every week, there's another phantom company that comes up that's sponsoring them for another 50 million, and then they disappear within a week as well. So for me, Liverpool haven't got the resources to compete with that, however big a club we are. So I'm just kind of enjoying it while it lasts, really. And at the end of the day, Everton are still a bigger club than City. Villa are still a bigger club than City. Notts Forest are still a bigger club than City. And until they win the Champions League, then they can go back to where the small side of Manchester.
Man City are just about the same size as Swindon. Let's be honest.
That's the one, mate. That's the one.
that's the level we're playing at.
Yeah.
And just, I feel justified saying that, knowing that there's going to be a Premier League stadium next year that can't even hold the same attendance as our last home game of the season to Barrow, where we outsold what Bournemouth can fit in their stadium. So just getting that dig in early on Bournemouth. Let's a quick word. How confident are you for next weekend? Liverpool going to win the Champions League? I know we were saying off camera. There's this sort of voodoo about Madrid. They look destined to win it.
Yeah, I think more or less every side that wins the Champions League in a season, I think they've got that something a little bit different about them. Thiago going off injured today was a big blow. I think he's a massive part of what Liverpool do at the minute. Yeah. It feels like it's Madrid's just because of the results they've had and the run they've had and the teams they've had to come across. But like I said, I'm having a bit of a garden party. Wooders coming around and making a bit of an effort because we didn't get any tickets in the ballot for Paris. So again, just the opportunity to kind of like have an occasion like that with my best mate and cheer on the Reds is what it's about.
No, absolutely. Just flicking through some stats on the screen while we talk, so people have got stuff to look at as well. And you asked the question for anyone that was on early enough and saw me clicking through these stats. Northern Burn remarkably here, 16 games without a win, and you asked if that was a record. We did have a quick look, and it's a joint record with Churchtown. So if Burn don't win tonight, they are new record holders for longest winless run. How much of a surprise is that for you?
Massive. And I think the back end of last season, Ian really wasn't happy with the team and wasn't happy with the performances they were putting in, but I don't think anyone could have kind of predicted this. I think Burn still have got an unbelievable 11 kind of front to back. But I certainly kind of know it from the back end of my Gazelles spell that once you hit rock bottom and once you can't do anything about it, it becomes really difficult to pull it back no matter what you try. You just don't score goals. You concede every single game. So, I think the difference between kind of myself and Ian is that obviously he's won it. So I think he'll just ride out this season regardless, and it'll not kind of have a massive impact on him. And then he'll go again.
Dimble's been very quick to retort in the chat. That was a pre-Dimble Churchtown that had that record run.
I've just seen as well, Mac has just said, obviously, he's glad that Liverpool ended the monopoly of City on the League Cup this year. But just on that point in terms of the league, if Liverpool hadn't won the league when we did, which thank fuck we did, and hadn't been as competitive as we had, for the last 5 seasons, Man City have won it by 19 points, 12 points, if you take kind of Liverpool out the equation. Mm-hmm. So, at least we've kept it interesting for everybody.
Yeah, it was an interesting afternoon all round. I mean, I'll be honest, and you probably won't thank me for saying it. I was a little bit disappointed that Salah scored. I didn't mind Liverpool winning. I was a bit disappointed Salah scored because I thought Son had been amazing at times this year and deserved that golden boot, but he has to share it now. The 2 goalkeepers obviously sharing the golden gloves again. I think it was 20 clean sheets each this season. Is just ridiculous in a 38-game season. And I think Salah won the top assists this year as well, so you can't begrudge him. But I was a bit disappointed that Son couldn't just win the golden boot on his own, because I think outside of Man City and Liverpool, he's probably been the best player in the Premier League.
I think it'll be interesting to see if Spurs keep hold of him now. I think 2 seasons ago, even last season, I think Kane was the top guy. But the more and more I see of Spurs, especially in this Conte system, the more that Son is like absolutely integral to it. Mm-hmm. In terms of being that out ball and being that release in the trigger for the kind of counter attack. So I think it'll be really interesting to see if Son if they keep hold of him really. Yeah.
Well, we're 10 minutes into the show and we've not actually done anything yet. So let's kick on. My suggestion was Steve asked, because it's Oliver's birthday, if he could be late, and obviously with you being on co-coms, I was going to go in reverse order as they appear on the screen. However, I have just seen Jens asking Halls first possible, so Ghost Games permitting, if we kick off Lettersford Halls and then go in reverse order, if that's all right with you?
Yeah, I think Friday this was kind of my game of the night, and then I actually looked at the fixtures and was really hard pushed to kind of have a game of the night. So yeah, absolutely.
There are some stunning games this evening. Let's go to Lettersford then. Fuck the EPL, long live the Super League, says Dimble. So Lettersford last time out beat Northern Burn 2-0. And a deserving win it was too in terms of chances created. Their stats look strong as well, a couple of 9s dotted around, and they currently find themselves below the dotted line on goal difference. In fact, it's on goals scored, isn't it, that they're below the dotted line, only 7 games in. What have you made to the start that Tato's made at his 28th different role at a Super League club?
I think initially probably struggled a little bit with having those heavyweight players and kind of thinking, especially up top, how to get them in. I know he wasn't really sure who he was going into the start of the season as his top guy. We tried to get Constantino back at every opportunity. Didn't quite happen. But I said to Tato the other night on a Twitter thread that Lettersford are kind of one of my favourite teams this year, because it would have just been so easy for him to roll out with a 2-7-1 with the players he's got now, or something of that ilk. But he's still kept it interesting.
Well, he's slightly tweaked it this time around. Ronaldinho's gone up top. He was playing in that left AM position. Rayed comes back into the 11 in that AM position instead, with Galletti dropping to the bench. But other than that, it's unchanged. I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, Scallion and Dyer pivotal players for anything Lettersford achieve this year. But what do you make of that four in attack? They're certainly capable on their day, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like more, I like Gallardo and Extabiria as the DMO and DML. They're not kind of players that you'd put as a first choice DMO and DML, but they've both been really, really good. I really like Gallardo, and he never quite got firing for Dragons or Gazelles when we had him on loan, but he's doing the business for Tato.
No, absolutely. Let's have a look then at the away side. So John Cook available for the second time this season and finally gets named in the matchday squad. He's on the bench, and this is the team Jens has gone with. He's gone back with the two now that Campbell's back from suspension. Malewski and Davis continuing holding midfield with Contra and the ever impressive Kandaya. Vogel continues to skipper the side from centre midfield, and it's Collins in support of Roberts and Crespo.
Yeah, really like it. And I think credit to Jens, I think probably, he has had some unbelievable players on paper over the last couple of years. Yeah. But I think kind of front to back, he's had a bit of a 4-season project, and this is probably the most solid and settled Fools 11 that I've known in this iteration. And probably the one I think that looks the most complete from front to back. The back line is absolutely solid, and then he's got goals up top and people that can be kind of big and make themselves a presence and get goals. So yeah, I really like it.
Well, in terms of those players you mentioned up top, so Crespo, I think Dimble was mentioning on Friday night that he's had a decent start, and we can see there 4 goals and 2 assists in the 7 games. Martin says in the chat the faith in Zizi is admirable. Now it's fair to say that after last year he had a quieter spell considering when he first came into the league, but he has actually scored 4 goals for Halls in 6 starts, so that's not a bad return either.
Yeah, so what's that in total? Is that 8 goals between the two of them? Is that right?
Yes. No, yeah. 10.
10. Yeah, I mean,
did I say Crespo was on 6?
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Oh no, sorry, 4 and 2 assists, isn't it?
So 8. Yeah, so just over a goal a game from them as a partnership. With how solid he is at the back, you're kind of saying, well, there's 2 players that are going to give you at least 1 goal, and then if you get some chip in from Collins and maybe a Malewski or Davis, I really like it. I think it's solid front to back. I think Tato has went a little bit attacking, as he usually does, so it'll be interesting, a real test of how solid this Hull side is, see if they can shut that front 4 out.
Tato pointing out in the chat, 3 of those were in 1 game, so it's actually 1 in 5.
All right, okay, yeah, fair point.
So yes, we do get to go with the game we want. So a first prediction of the night, please, sir.
I hope it's a belter to kick us off. I'm going to say an optimistic 3-3.
An optimistic 3-3. Well, let's see if we get an early goal to start that off. Halls weren't looking for it, but were unable to convert. Lettersford begin to come forward, have 1 or 2 flurries, but then Halls take a little bit, and it's Van Nistelrooy who opens the scoring with his 5th of the season on 25 minutes for the home side. Hall's looking to strike right back, but don't convert. Seeing Chunso and Gallardo getting heavily involved. Campbell seeing a lot of the ball for Halls, which is not the sort of player that Jens will be wanting to see. Another yellow card dished out there. So hard to spot the yellow cards in amongst this Lettersford kit as well. 4 minutes being added on to the end of the first half. Are we going to get a goal in that injury time? Oh, Van Nistelrooy coming so close for the home side. And Hall's having a go right before the whistle as well. But neither side can convert in injury time. And the first half ends 1-0. Both sides creating. Lettersford, the chances created there suggest the same as the text to me, that they had just a little bit more than Hall's in that first half.
Yeah, it looked, from my side, it looked a lot more Lettersford, but without being kind of massively threatening. Van Nistelrooy being the person that gets to go out a little forward. Yeah, I think is promising for Tato.
Well, let's have a look at just how busy he is. So he had 2 of the attempts, both of them on target, scoring 1. Chunso having 1 of the opportunities, Ronaldinho as well, and Gallardo. So pretty much the players you'd be expecting to get involved from an attacking sense. Given the pivotal position he's in, would you expect Chunso maybe to see a little bit more of the ball? I mean, he's only made 9 passes and completed 7 of them so far.
Yeah, probably. I think what stands out to me there is we all know how great Kandaya has been in the last 4 seasons, and Exeter compared to Gallardo is just getting absolutely shut out on his side of the wing. So there's only one winner there. Maybe a question for kind of Jens as to what he does with that DMR on his other side to kind of shut Gallardo down, because he's clearly kind of making progress down that left-hand side, down that right-hand side.
Well, Tato's already said he's going as he is till 60, but he's worried about Scally already on a last warning. Let's have a look. And they're only rating a 7, but he is certainly seeing a lot more of the ball. It's the same here. Look, the Hull's right back, or right wing back, I should say, being shut out compared to his opposite number. Vogel, though, he's finding it very difficult in the centre of that midfield to really get things going for Hulls.
Which is odd because there's nobody else there.
No.
So you'd actually think in terms of the two tactics that he'd have all the time in the world to kind of do his bit. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think being 1-0 down to this Lettersford side's a bad thing at half time, but again, I'm not sure what Jens's move is here to kind of sort it. I'd be worried about the yellow card on Vogel.
If he's looking for a bit more creativity, would you perhaps bring Gerard on?
Yeah, or I'd maybe give his maybe push Milewski up and bring on Song Jong Cook. I don't know. Yeah, but I think he's went for Gerard for Davies and swap with Vogel.
That is the change. So a little bit more creativity, but sticking with his captain. He has faith in him not to get sent off. Hulls have had red cards already this season. Let's kick off the second half, go to the tactical change at 60 minutes, see if that substitution makes any difference. Lettersford had the first chance of the half, but here come the away side. And then they're just taking it in turns, exchanging blows. But who's going to get that devastating next goal? And it's Lettersford. Gallardo with his first ever goal for the club. And then we wait. And then, so as we reach the tactical change, Doug, and Lettersford go 2-0 up with just over, We're just over 20 minutes left to play. Is there still enough in the Hull side to get back in this, do you think?
I don't know, probably not, just because of how solid Lettersford have looked. Yeah, I think if you're Tato, you're probably anxious to change anything here because of how well it's gone.
The only thing maybe would be Scally on his yellow.
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of substituting players on a yellow card, wary of that suspension.
Yeah, I do think, especially in that DM role, because you want them to kind of break up the play and take the odd tactical foul.
So we've got Rayed off for Galletti and extend the Etzeberria arrow up one more notch, is the word. Got to live life on the edge, haven't you? Says Tater. So there is the change from Lettersford's perspective. While we give Jens, let me do this properly. While we give Jens chance to look at his, are you surprised with the Rayed change or not really?
No, I think he's built this squad around a lot of options in that front kind of four, and I think he's got the luxury of not necessarily relying on one over the other. I think that's the decent thing about having the four up top and trying to kind of pile the bodies into the box, that you don't have to rely on Ruud, and if Van Nistelrooy scores, then great. In
this situation, would be tempted to maybe bring Tristan on for one of the defensive-minded players and go free up top?
I would probably go. I'll probably push Candela and Conrad on and stick Collins as a 3 up
into
top.
Like winger positions.
Yeah.
And actually push Collins on or bring Tristan on for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Collins for Tristan is the substitution being made. And then the follow-up instruction is free up front, Vogel up to CM, and Milewski solo DM. So a little bit like that. Jens, any arrows on these two players just before I hit continue? There's nothing in the message, so I'm presuming not. But again, an understandable change.
Yeah, I like that. I was just about to say you could play the kind of the mini triangle and have the one DM. I'd have maybe been tempted to stick Candela and Conrad further forward as well. He's got nothing to lose, has he? But yeah, I like that, Jens.
Well, let's see if the changes make any difference. So 22 minutes left plus injury time. Lettersford 2 up. Both sides have made their changes. If Hulls can pull one back here, it would be an interesting end. But 10 minutes fly by with nothing happening, and they failed to do anything from the corner as well. We're already into injury time, and even the injury time's flying by. as Lettersford have the chance in the 94th and 95th minute, fail to convert, but it doesn't matter. The full-time whistle goes, and they run out convincing in the end, 2-0 winners.
Yeah, good result that, Tato. Well played, mate. Definitely impressive. And 2 back-to-back games where he scored 2 and 2 back-to-back games where he's kept a clean sheet. So it's not just all about the front four.
And they, as you say, they're looking very impressive in terms of team performance and individual performance. Because again, we've got another 3 9-rated players: Gallardo, Scally, the yellow card not affecting his rating, and Van Nistelrooy, who picks up man of the match for his performance.
Yeah, Gallardo as a DML could be the master stroke of the season, really, depending on how Lettersford get on in terms of playoffs and stuff. Don't think any one of us would have put him there, but he was involved in both goals. Obviously, the one he scored, but even just before he scored, there was text where he was in amongst it. So, yeah, good shout, Tito.
Well, I mean, when you look at positionally in terms of Gallardo, it's very similar, I suppose, to in a way Balmer, who's got that FL position rating. I remember Hodgie was playing Kuhl there as well. So playing the attacking midfielders at left wing back is becoming more popular. But yeah, Gallardo's certainly impressing. As for Halls, the ratings improved on most part. Collins continued to struggle. But they just failed to create against this very well drilled Lettersford team, and I suppose against an Ndiaye and a Scally, it was always going to be difficult.
Yeah, and it's probably Jens's question is probably how does he get that midfield combination clicking? Does he play the 2 MCs and the 1 DM with Collins as an AMC, or does he play the kind of Haggis Fullchester flat 4 across the middle or whatever? So that's probably he's probably not 100% sure on that midfield combo, as good as Vogel's been for him.
Well, that's certainly an interesting first game of the night. Let's go to the second, which we wanted Northern Burn at home to Devils. So this is, again, we reiterate, sorry Ian, but if Northern Burn fail to win this one, they are Super League record breakers, at least in this iteration. Ian has gone back to a shape that will be familiar to most. Although giving it the creative title of Burnt Out. Some 1 or 2 interesting names. The fact that Youngberg's been selected in such a crucial game, maybe. Okoronkwo partners Cannavaro, Keenan Vieira. During the title winning season, they were the other way round, but over the last, particularly back end of last year and then into this year, it's certainly been this way round. And then Totti, who's normally down here playing AM alongside Robin. Thoughts on this team?
Ridiculously solid front or back, and definitely not a bottom place team. But I think there's a lot of big players in there that have let him down. Totti was great for him in the season that he won it. Mm-hmm. Robin was chipping in for fun. The combination of Keenan Vieira should work, but it hasn't quite ticked over this season. And Clive, I got slaughtered when I got rid of him at Gazelles, and Ian is doing us a little bit of a favour in showing that he's not all that he's cracked up to be, because he has been poor for him, really, and wasn't great for Dragons when he went either. But yeah, I think this Burn side is solid front to back and shouldn't be where they are compared to Devils that are just absolute enigmas. So I really can't call this one.
Well, you make a very good point about Devils. Let's have a look at the team selected here. They're without Montero. Frey picked up an injury in training as well. Soroczynski's still injured. Interestingly, Richard Wright, who's always the substitute, doesn't get to start in his absence. Kudicini comes straight in from not featuring to start between the sticks. He kind of keeps the back unit that he had for the last game as it was, but he's moved. He's gone with the 3 strikers again. He's picked Nesta, who wasn't fully fit, to replace Montero as well. Is this just a sign that despite having the top tiered side, Rob perhaps isn't taking it very seriously?
I don't know about not taking it seriously, because I think he does take it seriously, but I think he's probably not used to having so many good players to try and fit into some sort of system. That middle kind of DM line is absolutely class. I think in the majority of home saves, bar kind of Vieira going for 32, 35 million every home save, I actually think Van Bronckhorst posts the better numbers.
I'm a big Van Bronckhorst fan.
Yeah, massive. I think he's class, and I know kind of various different Devils managers, he's been the one that I thought realistically you could try and get, because not many people do rate him, but I think he's class. I think Ian will be a little bit worried about that front three with how many goals he's been conceding.
Well, let's find out. A score prediction, please, sir.
The game throws up surprises, especially when runs are on the line. So I'm going to go Northern Burn 2-1.
Northern Burn 2-1. Let's find out if you are correct on this one. Burn go close early doors there. Keane picks up a yellow card within the first 10 minutes. Devils just starting to play their way into it, and Emil Penza scores on 13, but Totti scores. No, it's been ruled out for offside. More bad luck for Burn, but they continue to stream forward at will. And surely it's just a matter of time until this pressure, wow, that flew by. Northern Burn, before I even hit stats, looked to have completely dominated, despite the fact that not a lot happened. All the text, with the exception of the goal, was white and orange. Well, that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see who's had those shots. Because again, kind of Clivert's misfired for him. I'm wondering how many shots he's had of that. And Robin as well has been pretty wasteful so far this season.
Well, let's find out. Well, they've been shared amongst them. Totti's had one, Okoronkwo's had one, Robin's had one, Clivert's had one, and Emerton has had one.
Yeah, it's not. That was a better performance first half than the result suggests. But I can probably
these ratings though are very not Northern Burn, aren't they?
And you wonder how much of that is the fact that the morale's rock bottom. You know, I haven't seen his pack, but you wonder how much of that is just
16 games without a win can't give you good morale.
Yeah, well, that's the one. Like, yeah, but yeah, he's probably going to go as is. Nonian.
He has gone as is. As for Devils, they are ahead, perhaps not playing at their best, but that's a sign of a good side when you can win, as they say, and if you're not playing your best. There are options on the bench, Kuehl and Eto if he wants to improve it defensively, or Oye if he wants to shore things up. But do you expect Rob to go as is as well?
Maybe I'd probably be looking at Deisler, bringing him off, but that 3 DM line we kind of highlighted before the game, 8-8-7, they're absolutely doing their bit.
Well, it's actually Kesman coming off with Kuehl into the hole, so Deisler remains on. Harry Kuehl's a good player that perhaps is underutilised by the current manager, but again, he started even against the previous manager. He didn't want to play him, but in the end, he did, and he perhaps doesn't get as many assists as you'd like. He did get 6 last year, but he does chip in with decent ratings and performances. A couple of goals as well.
Yeah, I like him better than Kesman. Obviously not as an ST, but I like him better than Kesman by a long way.
And confirmation that the Deisler arrow has come off as well. Let's see how that affects things in the second half as we go towards the hour mark. Burn desperately in search of this goal. Another offside for Northern Burn. As Devils come forward looking for a second that you might think would end this as a contest. Burn have another opportunity. As we get to 65 and the tactical break. This is a difficult one now for Ian because we know his side have performed better. They continued, in my opinion, to perform better in that second half. It looks like there's a goal coming, but they haven't scored in 65 minutes. He doesn't want that record of longest losing streak or winless run, I should say. Does he bring on Brozek and or Sunwa to try and change things up? Maybe drop Totti back and Youngberg off? Does he look at the Keane yellow card situation?
If it was me, and it's not, I would probably push Youngberg over to DMR because Emerton's having a bit of a stinker. Have the kind of 2 central kind of DM and then the MC in front, and bring off Emerton for Brozek and just stack those AMCs to try and supply Clivert.
Well, he's actually keeping it as is. As for Devils, they've already changed it up once. We've already looked at the options on his bench. Can you see Rob changing it at all, or will he be quite content with how things are going?
Yeah, I think you roll with it, don't you? I think you're in danger of kind of just changing it for changing's sake, but I like a change. He's going Henry off for Eto.
Eto, another player who doesn't get many runs out in the Super League, but I think he's proven in the past he's more than capable at Super League level.
Did he get many for you when you won it? Did he start many?
He wasn't at me.
Oh right, yeah, he was at Sloths or something, wasn't he? No,
Yeah,
Bostock.
I think Hodgie brought him in the first year he took over. But the previous iteration, me and Jamie did a swap. I had Van Nistelrooy and he had Eto'o, and I swapped Van Nistelrooy for Eto'o, and I said I will guarantee Eto'o will score more goals than Van Nistelrooy. And despite finishing bottom, the 2 years that we did that swap, Eto'o did score more than Van Nistelrooy.
Decent.
So there is the change for Devils. Let's see if Burn can play their way back into this or not. Ayala gets booked. Still Burn coming forward, looking for this goal. Clivert can't miss, puts it wide. Big moments fall into big players. Ashley Cole, Robin, Kudicini with a fine save.
Kudicini having a blinder.
Proving a point. 75 now on the clock as Eto'o gets the ball, but now Keane picks it up and Youngberg, Totti, volleys from distance over the bar. The captain desperate to get his side back into this. Eto'o now swivels and gets out to Van Bronckhorst. 30 yards out, Eto'o, Dyer, shoved. Free kick awarded. Van Bronckhorst takes it quickly. Ferguson picks it up. Can't beat Clivert. Ferguson again going on a run this time. Kuehl goes for the corner. Dyer certain to score, couldn't score. Toldo with the save. 5 minutes plus injury time remaining. What have Burn got left in them? As Ferguson comes forward. Goal kick though. And Eto'o again. Still Eto'o. And it scores. Toldo couldn't get there. First goal of the season for Samuel Eto'o. And a record-breaking run set to continue for Northern Burn as we go into injury time. Dyer picks it up. Eto'o again. And Northern Burn score. Clivert from absolutely nowhere. But they couldn't get one more chance. And unfortunately for them, there is the record as the full-time whistle goes. Northern Burn 1, Devils 2 at full time. And I mean, 10 shots on goal is a familiar sight. Unfortunately for Ian, 3 of those on target is also a familiar sight, Duggan.
Yeah, and that Clivert, he'll almost have preferred to have been beat 2-0 rather than Clivert just pop up with a goal out of nowhere after having missed that sitter earlier on. That's a sickener,
isn't it?
Yeah, this game, man.
20-year-old algorithms and all that. I've brought the Northern Burn stats up, and I'll allow you to evaluate them just while I load up a couple of the questions that you got asked as well, so we could get through the interesting content.
Yeah, Keane's had a blinder there. Probably trying to deal with those runs from the DML line at the MCs. Yeah, Ian, mate, you'll know this squad better than all of us, and you've won it, which is not something many of us have done. So, not much you can do there, mate. Sorry.
So, bringing them up in the order they appear on the screen. Should we do 2 questions before we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So submitted by Rob of the Devils. Would you rather watch Alf do a week-long stream of a Roma save where every player is a mystery man, or watch Martin manage a Division 12 team from Denmark while talking about price fluctuations in Latvian radish prices?
It's a hard one for obvious reasons. I'm going to go with Martin just because there's no greater sip on streams than Martin's sip of whatever drink he's having. His tea or his turnip tea or whatever he's having. And
the second question, also by Rob of the Devils, would you? This seems to be a popular one for him. I'm sure he's asked this to just about everyone who's ever asked for questions. But would you rather squeeze your left ball until it pops, or get wanked off with a cheese grater?
Cheese grater every single time. I think you'd get to a point where you would be numb, and at least someone else is doing it.
Let's move on then and have a quick look at the Devils' stats. It's with the exception of Van Bronckhorst that you spoke about in the preview, it's not exceptional, but they got the job done.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost like a combination of Hodgie's Devils and your Devils, bizarrely. Kind of took their chances when they came and were clinical, but were actually pretty solid. Yeah, and I couldn't tell you where Devils are off the top of my head in the table. He's just a total enigma, Rob Sloth, isn't he?
Going into this, they were 5th.
So that'll put them amongst it then.
Oh, they're still. They seem to win one. It feels like they win one, lose one. I'm probably being harsh. I mean, at the point that they're up to third, won 4, drawn 2, lost 2. So I wasn't far off. Scored 9, conceded 9.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. That's not a Rob Sloth team, that is it?
No, absolutely not. You'd expect more scored and more conceded. One more question then before we move on, and this comes from Hodgie. If you relocated your family to Erinsborough, I'll be honest, I don't know.
Is this the Neighbours question? This is the Neighbours question, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, if you relocated your family to Erinsborough, how long would you be there before your wife had an affair with Dr. Carl Kennedy?
3 hours, I think. 3 hours. I think she'd go in for her first gynae appointment and he'd be all over her like a hot rash.
I'll go with his second one as well, just while I click continue. Difficult one for you: Suarez or Salah?
Salah.
All day long?
Yeah, Suarez was unbelievable, but Salah will probably go down easily in the top 3 Liverpool players. I think there'll be Kenny, Stevie, and Salah.
Okay. We move on to Locomotive Boston at home to Churchtown. Loco narrowly getting beat by defending champions Dudley Hill 1-0 last time out, where they played. Oh, wrong one. Let's try that again. Where they played this sort of weird kind of Space Invaders formation, but it got quite a bit of praise in the chat that it was something a little bit different. He's gone back to something a bit more familiar this time round, unfortunately for those who like a creative outlook. But again, it looks quite strong in terms of what Loco have. But I'd like to draw your attention. We've been talking about wing backs already. Cassano, right wing back.
Yeah, how's he looking stats wise?
Stats wise for Cassano, here you go.
Not bad, but not great. Yeah, he's a weird one, Cassano, isn't he? He's kind of, he really should be. CM0102 should really be a save where he kind of kicks off, and it was about that time where he was kind of massive for Roma with Montella and Totti, but never really quite done it for me. So yeah, as a forward, as an FC playing DMR, it's the type of Greavesy shout that could probably work, to be fair.
We've got some follow-up questions while I click over to Churchtown. Rob saying he drinks the tears of small children, referring to Martin. Rodeo Bibbins, how long would it be before you had an affair with Carl Kennedy?
2 hours.
2 hours. And Ian asking, where does Alan Hansen fit in that Legends list?
Probably top 10, but definitely not top 5.
Interesting. As for Churchtown, Donati, who was unlikely to feature anyway, but he's ineligible against his parent club. Oliver Kahn suspended after his red card in the 3-1 defeat at Astor, and the FA refusing to rescind it. So this is how they line up. All very familiar, with the exception of Headman back in goal.
Yeah, like it for being kind of not spectacular, but brilliant, like greater than a kind of some of its parts. Volodenkov, I think, is top of the average ratings in the league. And so, he's getting a real tune out of him at ML. Not many people really fancy him. But yeah, I think this, I would like to say Churchtown bounce back with a win here.
Okay. Emlyn Hughes is the latest follow-up question. Where does he fit? Does he make the top 10 2050?
Top 10, yeah.
If people just keep naming Liverpool players, will they just all make the top 10?
No, definitely not. Because I grew up watching Andriy Voronin and Anthony Letelek and Florent Cinema Pongal. So yeah,
Cinema Pongal, what a player!
Oh mate, honestly, this is why you've just got to enjoy the ride when the success comes. Because, and I mean, I'm well aware that there's most of the Super League are kind of lower league kind of fans. So it's very, very entitled of us to talk about how bad that era was, even though we won cups. But yeah,
it's all right. Macca will pipe up in a minute saying, I'll see your Cinema Pongal and raise you Eric Jemba.
Yeah, remember when Federico Maqueda had that run where he was like,
scored 3 goals in 2 games and disappeared to Spain?
Yeah.
Right, so you've already said that you'd like to think Churchtown will get back. Can I ask for a prediction, please?
2-1 Churchtown.
2-1 Churchtown. sure there must be a few Arsenal players who make that sort of list as well. I'll let you think about that while we get to half time. Let's not rat on Man United and Liverpool. No point discussing Man City because they've only existed for about 10 years.
Yes, 5 feet. Yes, 5 feet.
Montella opens the scoring for the home side on 18 minutes, but Hussein's having none of that on 25 and levels things up again. Already half an hour played in this fixture, and now 41 minutes on the clock, and there was 2 goals and not much else, Duggan, as we've already reached half time.
Yeah, and
I hope you've been thinking of Arsenal players because there's not a lot to talk about here.
I know. Let's just crack on. I'm one listening on stream where I'm like, that was shit. Crack on. So yeah, crack on.
Rob pointing out that Makeda is now 30.
That's nuts.
Seems to have been around forever. A quick look at the Loco stats here. Now, I do believe, if I've got this the right way around, because I tend to forget what all four. I try and keep tabs on all 14 of your social calendars as best as I can, but I believe Greaves is at a wedding, so that probably not been in the chat unless I'm making it up.
If Rob Sloth doesn't chime in with a sister joke or a like sister third removed cousin with 10 webbed feet, then all is lost.
So let's go over to. In fact, no. Before we go over to Church, just anything in particular you notice? There's a couple of high numbers in terms of passing, but it's mainly the defensive players.
Van Bommel doing bits against his former club, I think.
He is indeed. Let's have a look at Church. Tater saying Greavesy rarely has over 6 shots on goal across the 90. And there's Rob with, is it a family wedding? Do you expect, looking at these stats here, is Dimble going to be doing much?
I really like Salas, but I know he's kind of not all in on him. But yeah, I'd probably keep as is.
Okay. Just while we wait for confirmation from Dimble, the next question on the list: ice cream vans outside. What are you having?
Either just a tub with monkey's blood, flake, strawberry sherbet, all of that jazz on, or a zap.
Oh, okay, interesting choice.
Yeah,
I would generally go for the tub with the nuts, the flake, and generally it's strawberry or raspberry sauce they're knocking about with. There was when we were kids, they used to have a variety of sauces, but they don't do that anymore.
No.
Dimble saying carry on, and Al saying Duggan's reaction if a Liverpool ground share was agreed at Everton's new stadium.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, if the two Milan clubs can get on with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm glad Everton stayed up. I'm glad it's 2 guaranteed brilliant fixtures a year, and
2 more 90th minute winners.
Yeah, I know a lot of horrible Evertonians, but I know a lot of decent Evertonians as well. So,
have I dreamt this, or has Mr. I'll always be Everton Divock Origi agreed to leave the club this summer already?
Yeah, he's gone. I think there'll be a little bit of a clear out this summer, to be honest.
Okay. Well, we'll go. Dimble's gone as is, so we'll move forward to 60. No additional goals as of yet. 57 on the clock, and the home side come forward. Now Churchtown with a chance, Hussein, but it's saved. And Montella, just as we hit the tactics break, scores his 5th of the season to put the home side 2-1 up. Where do I fit in that scenario, Duggan, says Tato.
Oh, Tato's absolutely sound, isn't he? For all the shit I give him, he's absolutely sound. He's a top lad.
Bramley Moore is going to be smaller than Anfield, I think, Alf. He said.
Yeah, and I was gonna get that one in there, but I thought I'll not jib him. But he's done it himself. It's fair enough.
So yes, we're at 61 minutes. It's 2-1 to the home side. Montella, as we say, with his 5th of the season. Dimble's not one really. He's very level, isn't he, Dimble? So he's not going to be making rash changes here. But we may well see the introduction of Salas and Rivaldo just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I know he's not kind of massively in love with these wider squad options. I'd maybe, if it was me and it's not, I'd maybe go Salas for Agahawa, 2 up top with Brugging in behind, maybe. I don't know.
Do we think? I mean, I'll be honest. I'm one for butchering names anyway. And I don't ever profess to be the most well-known, well-informed person. You like many go with Brugging. I tend to go Brugging. Do we actually know which one it is? Am I just saying it wrong?
No, I think it's Bruges I think you're right.
Salas for Petrov, free up front with Bruges AMC. So he is going for it. So we're going a bit like that.
Nice.
Hussein central, no arrow. I think that's right. It's a bold move.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, that's what these tactics breaks were introduced for, to allow, you know, something a bit bold, a bit brave, to try and get into it. I know you were quite vocal when this came in. Are you a fan of it, or do you think it makes the whole show go on a bit longer than needed?
No, I like it. I think you just sacrifice a little bit of the analysis, really, which you know we all know can get a little bit too much at times when you get a bit carried away. Not you, but as in kind of the co-com team and the commentator. But yeah, I think where we'll really see it make a difference is in the playoffs, when people are chasing the deficit in the second leg, or you know, they want
Silva could be in trouble here, or he's got away with a yellow.
Where people are chasing kind of second leg deficits, I think playoffs will be where it really comes in.
Rodeo Bivens, Brujik has the phlegmy GH sound in the middle of it. The phlegmy Dutch accent. 84 now on the clock, still 2-1 to the home side. Aga, however, header. Hussein picks up the rebound, but it's cleared. And now Del Vecchio on the counter-attack. Montella, Carlos. Tomasi gets in the way. Petit picks it up, and it's back with Del Vecchio, but Headman gets it. Gives it to Terry, Mendes to Silva, but they can't get any further forward. And now here comes Salas. Zambrotta, Bruging, Salas again on the volley. Would have been a great goal, but they only get a corner, which Carlos hoofs clear. Or as we like to refer to on the Fools Rush In pod, the continental long ball. Volodenkov with the shot. And Salas this time, but Petit gets in the way. We're into injury time. There's the full-time whistle. And it ends Loco Boston 2, Churchtown 1. But that is as loco as I've seen a game in a long time. Churchtown have created everything there, and Loco have escaped.
Yeah, cute, some sort of whopper Jose Mourinho meme or gif being posted by Greavesy. I think that's kind of 2 games on the bounce where Dimble's been a little bit done by the game engine with the Reds, and then Reading against Astor, and then that he's done everything but win there. Dimble, that's annoying.
Let's have a quick look at the home side stats. Montella picking up man of the match for his brace. I mean, it obviously no one is a one-man team, generally speaking, because you know the Super League is full of the biggest and best that the game has to offer. But where would Loco be without Montella?
Yeah, and to be fair to him, you know, he really did kind of go all in on Montella when he brought him in. And kind of he's kept him in the mix largely, even when these teams looked kind of shite. Cassano, actually, though, as a DMR, he's done all right there, looking at that kind of line straight across. So fair play, Greavesy.
And Peruzzi again continuing his good form since Barthez left. I can only think of 1 or 2 sort of poor performances he's put in.
Absolutely. Fifey, I am just going to transport to downstairs, so I'm just going to mute myself, and I'll give you a shout when I'm back up.
No worries. In the meantime, I will have a quick talk about Churchtown, whose ratings, again, solid, if not spectacular. Viali struggled a little bit, which is unlike him. What have we got going on in the chat here? Harsh on Churchtown. It's Brew Hink, says Martin. Thank you. Greavesy plan for this season. Solid behind him, and just hope Montella scores. It's all part of his master plan. Good morning, Soup League. Cheers, Greaves. Hi, Macca. You haven't missed your game. Do not worry. Not that it matters. Of course it matters. Every comment matters, Martin. Everything you guys do, whether it's content before and after the game or just watching and commenting on the stream, it absolutely matters. Congratulations, Greavesy. Commiserations, Dimble, who's been well and truly locoed there. Let's move on to our next game as Duggan rejoins us. So we've now done those 3. So we're going to this is a game that, despite their early league positions, you were saying off air, Duggan, Haggis v Bostock, massive game.
Yeah, huge. And I think because of Bostock's form that they've just kind of hit, especially the goals that they're scoring. I think this is a real chance for Haggis to let everybody know that they're the real deal, and that they're not messing about this season.
Stam returns in the only change for top of the league, Haggis. But you wanted to discuss the impact that Casas has made since joining the club. 3 goals in 7 starts, a 7.71 average rating, 69% pass completion as well. And stats-wise, certainly a player who could threaten some of the big name stars in this league. One of the better out-of-league signings there's been?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he's one of those players that might not necessarily get you the goal or the assist, but he always looks as though he's involved in the text. And that's sometimes when you reduce the kind of game engine down to the stats and the ratings, not necessarily something that's reflected. I was watching a few games back and a few streams back just ahead of tonight, and he's been right there amongst more or less everything Casas have done at the top end of the pitch this season. Yeah, fair play for getting him in and playing him, and this formation is clearly working for Haggis.
Absolutely, and he seems to be settled now on Cole partnering Mendieta. He tried a few people there in the early games, but Cole's had the long run now. I think this is 3 or 4 games in a row alongside Mendieta. There was some questions of Joe Cole. There's always been questions of Joe Cole. I know you weren't a massive fan of his either.
Yeah, I mean, I quite liked him. It was just he was totally inconsistent. But what I think is really interesting is Casillas seems to have cleaned up his act for Haggis. He seems to have stopped kind of chucking in the 5s and conceding.
Q5.
Yeah. Sorry, Ian. Sorry. But he definitely seems as though he's sorted out his act a little bit.
Just seeing in the chat, Alf saying great international goals ratio. Martin saying either-footed as well, solid player. Rob saying ratio this. Ian, he's being consistent 8s. And Martin loves an out-of-league signing. Let's have a look at Bostock Stanley then. You mentioned the form coming into it. So they've won their last 3 since the massive 5-1 defeat away at Halls where Sylvester got sent off. They've won 2-0, 3-2 and 2-1. This time round, just one change. Guiu comes into the starting lineup with Prutton dropping to the bench.
Yeah, I think Scott is probably up there in terms of, in this iteration, a manager that's been the most consistent out of a lot of people, and seems to always be kind of in the mix or taking big results or going on runs of form, other than when we had that kind of phase where the kind of experimenting with the formations and stuff, which I know is all ground. But yeah, listen, Scott's one of the managers that is miles better at this game than me. And this Bostock side, with all the youth that they've got in it, but also with kind of the strength in Ziraberto and Cafu with DML and DMR, it could be there, yeah, I think.
So are we on season 5 of this iteration?
Yeah.
So just to point out what you're saying there. So some of the best players that they've got, Welsh still only 21, Lai still only 22. And bear in mind, these two in particular have been dominating for 2 seasons now, and they're still at this age. You know, you look at some of the other players, you've got Gonzalez only at 25. Carlos Jacques, one of his big players, at 23. Say Roberto's only 31 at this point in the game as well. I mean, yeah, Cafu obviously at 35, but he's still very much doing a job. But you're right, Scott managed to get together a squad at the right age where they've all developed together. He's not had to work too hard to keep them together.
And also as well, in terms of kind of the save, not to bore anybody's tits off, but in terms of like potential ability converting into current ability, this is usually kind of season 4, 5, 6, where you see the likes of your Julio Arcas and your Pruttons and, you know, those sorts of players that do start coming through and start really mixing it with getting, you know, European Young Player of the Year or, you know, Premier League Young Player of the Year. So yeah, I think Bostock could get a result here. I'm going to go. Sorry, Campbell, because I love you, mate. I'm going to go 2-1 Bostock.
Well, he's already blaming you for jinxing it, Casillas anyway. Before we kick off, thank you for that prediction. One last one from Hodgie. All-time favourite non-Liverpool Premier League shirt?
I had a little bit of a think about this, and then I realised that the majority of them were red. So I think that was something kind of like ingrained. Like the Forest 94, 95 one, that was pretty good with a big collar. the Leeds and Tottenham white ones, the Leeds Strongbow and the Tottenham Holston Pills.
Holston, yeah,
pretty good. And I don't know if it's because this was kind of round about the time where I started to kind of appreciate football a little bit more, even if Liverpool were getting smashed by them. But just that Arsenal 03, 04, 02, 03 kind of red and white with the 02 on the front.
Yep.
I think that's because I kind of associate with the Invincibles and probably the best side, one of the best sides I've ever seen, really.
Where'd you rate the blackcurrant one that they had?
There was a Dreamcast on the front.
Yeah.
I quite like that. I quite like
Dreamcast, to be fair, for the year that it existed.
It was ahead of its time, wasn't it? Well ahead of its time.
Not sure which games are left, but any chance we could have Gazelles next, Fifey? I think you are next, actually, Martin, to be fair, anyway. So you said Bostock to win this, unfortunately, after already jinxing Casillas as well. Let's kick this one off and see if you are right. Stan with an early yellow card as Bostock really get into gear from the beginning. Another yellow card, this time for Samuel. That's both centre-backs booked in the first 4 minutes. Almost no way that this game ends with 11v11 players if that's the way that's going. Haggis playing their way back into it now after some early pressure. Another yellow card. I think that's for Jeremy's this time. And another yellow card, but that was to a Bostock player this time. Wow, these teams are going at it. All the tough tackling players getting yellow cards. But there's Torres from 30 yards on 26 minutes, opening the scoring for the away side. Viduka hits the bar. Casas is offside. Duff's on the volley. Haggis really trying to get back into this, but failing to convert these opportunities. As Bostock come forward again, Casillas with a good save. Jacques hits it from distance. Del Piero hits it from distance. Everyone's shooting from distance. I don't know why they think looking at these two goalkeepers as a shoot on side, but Del Piero on 43 minutes makes it 1-1 and it's 2-1. What a turnaround. Joe Cole on the stroke of half time.
Wow.
And Haggis have gone mad in injury time of the first half. Viduka makes it 3-1. Unbelievable.
Well.
Scenes from Haggis in that last couple of minutes, Duggan.
Yeah, listen, they're the real deal this season, and they're going all the way, and they're getting to the final. Of that, I have absolutely no doubt. Yeah, fantastic.
So just as Rob was saying great console and Martin was saying superb, Tato said Casillas was out of position, the goal was 30 yards out, and then his next message is Jesus Christ, what happened there? Unreal scenes, and Ian is celebrating wildly in the streets of Edinburgh at the moment. Let's have a look at his side's ratings, and they, well, as we say, what a turnaround in those final few minutes. The main concern, I said early doors, is that Samuel, Stan and Jeremy's were all booked within the first 15 minutes, but they seem to calm down after that.
Yeah, that'll be definitely a worry, because if you just hop back onto match stats for a quick second, Fifey, I'm not massive one for over-analysing this, but they're smashing in the tackles. They won, nearly double the amount of tackles and near enough 3 times as many headers, or like kind of 2.5. So you kind of worry if Jeremy's and Stan being rough is working, but that they're going to get a second yellow as a result. But hell yeah, that's class.
Just laughing at Mac as honestly this fucking spreadsheet algorithm comments.
The only thing we know as every week goes by is that we don't know what we think we know in relation to this game. Like nobody knows.
Let's have a look at Bostock as Ian says roll, please. Have we seen Scott in the chat? He asked for an early kickoff as well.
I think he was flying about earlier.
Let's have a look. I mean, wow, all the players that we were talking good about, Welsh rating a 7 is about as good as it gets. You've got Live there on a 6, Zé Roberto on a 6. They're all Jacques as well. All the players that usually turn up for Bostock are not rating particularly highly in that first half. They're seeing quite a bit of the ball. Guigu's been very busy.
Yeah, it's an odd one, that, because you go 1-0 up with literally minutes left of the first half and then find yourself 3-1 down. And you've got absolutely no clue where it's went wrong, really, because everyone looks okay there, but not massively brilliant. But Jacques has missed a lot of tackles, Raul's missing everything. Lassisi's having a stinker. But yeah,
well, we've got some changes coming here. So we've got Raul for Vieri. 2 up top, Jacques solo, AMC, wing backs pushed up with arrows. Oh no, too big.
if Swanee's knocking about in the chat, which I'm sure he is, unless he's got an early start tomorrow, it'll be interesting to know what Devils were on last season after 8.
The Swan delve into the record books for us. Well, actually, I'll just let Scott confirm that. I believe he's not mentioned anything to do with an arrow on Jacques, so I'll just wait for confirmation of that. But in the meantime, I should be able, after 8, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 0, 3, 4, 7, 10, 13, 16. And Haggis are already on 16.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive.
He's saying, yeah, roll. So we will go to the hour mark and see Martin, earliest queue incoming, question mark. What if they carry on this form? And Jacques, minutes into the second half, picks up an injury. Kutsov, the obvious
big player for Scotty.
But it's all falling apart at the moment. But yeah, Kutsov, the obvious replacement, you would say?
Yeah, I like Kutuzov. I like him a lot. I think his stats are great, but Jacques is a big player for Scott.
He is. He's one of those players, I've said it a few times, that there are certain players that certain managers like. You've got Jacques and Live as Scott players. You've got Sorochinsky as a Hodgie player, that kind of thing. Who's your player? Constantinu.
Constantinu, Richie Wellington. No, Z. Elias probably, you'd say.
We resume the action. Del Piero makes it 4-1 to Haggis. And appeals for penalty. Referee says play on. Credit to Bostock, they're still coming forward, trying to get back into this. Can they get one back? Not before the tactics break on 65. Look at Jens Jeremies. Mentioned Scally's rating earlier not being affected by the yellow card. Jeremies is absolutely destroying everything in the centre of that midfield. And
I think that's a nice little opportunity for me to kind of absolve myself of how wrong I was on that Jeremies deal that Ian did. I was one of the very, very vocal people for him letting Vieira go to Northern Burn, but I think it's what a masterstroke that's been. Jeremies has been easily in the top 3 players in the league since he moved over.
Are you surprised at this stage? I mean, both managers have said roll, so I will do. Are you surprised again? I know it's early in the season, but people aren't, at 4-1 up, taking the opportunity to take one of these yellows off. I mean, Stam's just come back from a ban.
I don't know, because I think more managers than obviously with the kind of this being the last season of this iteration, I think more people have gambled on that first 11. So I think people probably haven't got that strength and depth that they have in previous seasons. I think it's probably why we've not seen as many players coming in and out of 11s.
There was no need to slow this one down as we hit the final whistle. I was just seeing what was going on in the chat. Macca saying all hail Swan. Potato saying Casas is still wank, get Samba on. And Steve's joined us. Hello, Steve. Hope Oliver enjoyed his birthday. I can't believe you made him sit through the Leeds game on his birthday. But a very, very entertaining fixture this. Credit to both sides. I mean, 26 chances is probably more than we'll see in a couple of games combined tonight.
Yeah, and knowing Scotty, you'll have absolutely no issue with saying like fair fucks Campbell and well done to you, mate. But the Haggis boys are the business. The Haggis boys are the real deal this season.
Dimble's just said that in the chat as well. Unbelievable stuff, Ian. Let's have a look. Jeremies, as we alluded to, getting man of the match. Although Joe Cole there as well with his 10 out of 10 rating. You've got 9s for Viduka and Del Piero. Casas, the weak link in the team, if you're going purely on ratings, on a 7. That's as close to perfection as you can get, isn't it?
Yeah, take it, run, rinse and repeat, and hope for the same next game. I think class.
As for Bostock, is it a case of just one of those days at the office?
Yeah, and he was 1-0 up with minutes to play in the first half, and then the game decided otherwise. There's nothing Scott could potentially do to kind of control that. So yeah, unlucky Scott, mate.
Ian's gone full Martin. What's the commentator's name for Sky? Martin Tyler. Drink it in, boys. You'll never see anything like this again.
Listen, it's early days. And if there's a loose cannon in the league,
is he in danger of going for his Manager of the Year award already?
Yeah, the cursed premature Manager of the Year that sees the person that gets it sink.
Well, congratulations to Ian, who maintains his excellent record at the start of the season. Commiserations to Scott, whose side performed admirably, and the result certainly doesn't reflect that. They will collapse like the Jacobites before long, says Ian. Steve Del Piero's class first half of the season historically, second not so much, and a couple more congratulation messages. Next, we want Gazelles, because Martin wants to go to bed. So Gazelles versus Astor, widely tipped at the start of the season, Duggan, to be 14th and 13th in no particular order. Astor have certainly started the stronger of the two. What have you made? Obviously, you were very close. You were involved with Gazelles at the beginning of last year. What do you make of the more sort of new look Gazelles?
I think it's difficult because Martin inherited a squad of mine that was a squad of mine, and that really a couple of gambles didn't pay off, and then had to kind of try and rectify that. But there was a little bit of a kind of Twitter thread going probably about a month or so back now, where Craig Trudgill was in there, and we were kind of back and forth and about where it went wrong for Gazelles, even kind of when he was involved.
Yeah.
And even he was saying, the first Gazelles squad had kind of some big names, but kind of midfield wasn't really that creative.
Mm-hmm.
And he never really cracked that. And I never really cracked that. I had Vieri, Tomad and Davy Collins, but I couldn't get kind of supply to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Martin's got probably the same issue. I'm obviously going to sit here and say he's made the squad worse, but I think he has. But yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult when you come in and you're kind of inheriting two people's squads rather than kind of one manager's squad. But I think what's interesting is, like many before him, kind of Martin came in and thought he was going to play a certain way and kind of stick to his principles of how he played the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then very, very quickly had to kind of get in line with what we all know as the standard strengths in terms of formations and tactics and things. And history doesn't lie in terms of the Super League. We know that 2-7-1s are stronger than anything else, really. But yeah, fair play to him. He's brought his own players in. He backs them. I think the Bartes signing was a great signing. Massive upgrade on anything I had in there. And Elgar and Tomad look pretty good. And to be fair to him, getting a tune out of Zeedorf, or Seedorf, whatever you want to call him, where many previous managers have absolutely failed across many different clubs.
Yeah, he's only rated slightly higher than. I mean, look, different club every season.
Yeah.
But yes, he only rates slightly higher than Zidane, and Zidane gets widely criticised for how bang average he is. Not that it made fuck all difference to confirmed 2-7-1 tactic, to be honest, says Martin. Any more questions? Yes. Okay, Rob. We got plenty of time. Don't panic, but okay. Next one coming in. I will save that one to the end because we've already done a few of Rob's. So this one comes in from Tato. You're setting up a new school. What would each of the Super League managers teach and why?
Yeah, I had a good think about this one. So I think starting at the top, head teacher, rather apt because we've got Gazelles up. Martin Pedersen, absolute fascism. Anybody smiles, they're getting chucked in the chokey. Nobody's going to have
nice
any fun.
Matilda reference there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're getting chucked in the chokey if you even remotely smile, lads. If you've ever listened to the song by the Smiths, The Headmaster Ritual, that is Martin as head teacher. Deputy head, Steve Wright, far more likeable than the head teacher, tries to be everyone's mate. Maths, Macca, honking of all sorts of different substances on a Monday morning when you've got double maths with them. Campbell, I reckon, PSHE, kind of pastoral behavioural intervention. You kind of question why or how he ever became a teacher. Jens, PE, everybody fancies the PE teacher, even the lads. Edwards, art and design. I think I'm struggling beyond that.
What are you teaching? You've missed the obvious Alf on history.
Yeah, Alf on history. Yeah, definitely falling asleep at the back of Alf's class, 100%. Dimble's like security on the school gates, just like braying everybody when they're being dicks. Me, I don't know what I would teach.
Hodgie's like the supply teacher that comes in the jeans and check shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like Tato just does a bit of everything. Like Tato rocks up at your class as a teaching assistant and you don't even know he's there. And then before you know it, he's in another person's class. And then before you know it, he's in another person's class. Just like he's everywhere. Who have we missed managers wise?
Scott.
Scotty, I reckon, would like head of behaviour. Scotty would just come in, fucking take someone out of the class, and you'd never see them again. And Scott would come in, you'd shit yourself. Like, I reckon. Who else have we missed?
Have we done Rob?
Rob's the teacher that's fucking someone, and he's been chucked out. He's honestly he's the teacher that there's all sorts of rumours about in the school.
Just double check. Done. Greavesy,
geography, something really fucking boring.
Scotty done, yourself, you've done Dimble, Hodgie, Martin, and Ian. Yes, that's all the Super League managers. Do I get a job in this school?
You can have any job you want. What would you like to be in the school 5 years, chairman?
I'll just be the receptionist. I'll just do the admin work.
Class.
Right, let's kick this one off. Oh no, I say kick this one off. We've not even looked at the Astor team yet. Currently sitting fourth before a ball's kicked. With 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. They have scored 12, conceded 11 points in their first 7 games, performing well above expectations. Last time out, they beat Churchtown. They got a draw with Sloths. They got a draw with Dragons. They're in good form at the minute. 4 without loss. Obviously, since that 3-0 win over Devils. What have you made to Astor?
I think there's a reason why everybody in the chat takes the piss and says he must be cheating, because this is not a side that should be putting up the results that they are. And I don't know if we all just kind of like over eulogize and theorize about the game and just overcomplicate it with, are we going right, left, or centre passing? Are we pressing? Are we tackling? Whatever. Alf just seems to put a tactic file in that's just an 11 on paper and just gets the job done. So I don't know if there's just a beautiful, brilliant simplicity like the Yorkshire Tea advert of 50 years ago that is just like spectacularly simple and just gets the job done, because Alf is punching this season.
Tato put a couple more questions in, but I'll leave them to the end of the stream because it makes sense to do them when the league table comes up. So I'm going to drop into Swanee's questions here, and it'll be an interesting one for me or for the next Super League chairman. If you could make one change to the Super League, what would it be?
I think if I could, and if it would ever work, which it wouldn't, so I'm kind of writing it off.
Right.
I would love Super League to be a 13, 14 team pure like network stream every Sunday night. So everybody on at the same time, all playing simultaneously, all streaming it with a little video printer showing results coming in. You're sitting there kind of chatting through the video printer results. Managers are dipping in and out of core comms, letting them know what's happened. It would obviously never work, but if I ever won the lottery, I'd set that up.
And a score prediction for Gazelles versus Astor, please.
Astor 3-0.
Astor 3-0 is the prediction. 1 minute on the clock as Astor come forward, missing the first opportunity. Michael Owen getting another run out today, and he misses his first opportunity. Rob, do you insult me on purpose with that Treasury comment, says Macca. It was aimed at me, wasn't it? Gazelles score with Seedorf on the stroke of half time. Not a lot happened there. That's not a big text bar for a first half, but the crucial stat is that Gazelles are leading 1-0 with their only shot on goal, Duggan.
And getting the tune out with Seedorf when many a manager's failed, so fair play to them.
Let's have a look at their stats first as Martin throws in a big Clarence comment. To be fair, considering they haven't created much, most of the players, with the exception of the strikers, have seen a fair bit of the ball, and they're all rating quite well. Their pass completion maybe not the best, but they're certainly doing well in the air and winning their fair amount of tackles.
Yeah, that DM line's doing bits, but again, just like I said at the start of the analysis, really another Gazelle side, just like mine, that really struggles to create, and has done for a long time now.
While we wait confirmation from Martin if he wants to make any changes, the question that everyone's been wanting the answer to from Swanee, who's got the biggest Todger out of Wooder and Jamie?
I've spooned Wooder quite a lot, and never really felt anything impressive down there. So without even having met Hopkins face to face, I'm going to say Hopkins.
Nice. Very, very honest and precise, detailed answer. As we click over to Astor, whose ratings are very unspectacular. And if you were looking purely at individual player ratings and not the match stats, you could understand why Gazelles were winning, because this is rank average by Astor's ever increasing standards.
But it looks as though they've had kind of more passes in terms of like less players that are doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Alf's bench is probably weaker of the two. So I'd be tempted to roll with this if I was Alf.
Alf's going as is, whereas Martin Day for Hersey. And remove the arrow like that.
Defensive
change to shore it up. Let's see how that works out for them as we go towards the 60-minute mark. Again, has to start quickly, failing to convert a couple of chances there as Madeira then gets one. Astor come forward again. Frank has been very involved since getting a place in the side. Tato saying Hersey wants to come to Leeds, I heard. 63 minutes on the clock. Gazelles continue to lead, Duggan. You said that the Astor bench wasn't the strongest, so has Alf got enough in this 11 to turn this around? They're creating chances, it seems.
Yeah, probably you're gambling on one falling to Rossini, I think. I think if I was Martin here, I'd maybe push Seedorf to the MR and bring Pignardi on, because Asamoah looks as though he's a little bit struggling.
I was going to mention, are you in this condition is a myth brigade or not? You do pay attention to it?
Yeah, I do when there's kind of one player that sticks out relative to kind of the rest of the 11. Because I think that's when kind of the game engine looks to kind of make it count, really.
Well, you got half of it right. Asamoah is coming off, but it's Carr coming on for him. So Seedorf stays where he is. Let's have a look at the Astor team. As I say, Franca, since getting back into the team, has been busy. Before this game, 7 starts, 3 goals and 4 assists.
Yeah, he's been good.
Never really had a proper run. There was one year when he first joined Astor that he got a bit of a run out, but other than that, he's been very limited, maybe proving a point now. Yakubu is only 2% more than Asamoah. Probs finish 81 plus as well, said Tato. Looking at the bench, knowing the situation, would you be looking at maybe Elmander for one of the 2 wingers just to offer something a bit more attacking?
If the Elmander is anything like the Elmander I had at Gazelles, then he's awful. I'd maybe push Franca up and go 3 up. I'm not sure.
We have seen teams going 3 up top tonight. You mentioned Elmander. He did have a non-existent really spell at Gazelles. Nobody played him in the years he was there. He got 1 sub appearance at Dudley Hill, and then he was allowed to join Astor. When Elmander is the answer, I don't know what the question is, says Martin, and Alf says as is. So we roll on, 63 on the clock. Gazelles continue to lead. And we'll slow this one down for any late drama.
Alf's still in this.
Very much so. Seedorf wins the defensive header, but Emerson picks it up. Gazelles withhold the pressure as we move into the final 10 minutes. What a win this could be for Gazelles if they can hold on. Anelka with the sliding tackle. Michael Owen from a tight angle fails to score. 85 now on the clock, 86. As Finnan puts in a cross, Zayaleas gets hold of the punch. And Alto Madeira is brought down by Wes Brown. 5 to be added on. As this game's entertaining Macca so much, he's talking about the golf. Liverani puts one over the bars. We move into injury time. Zayaleas comes forward and Anelka. Emerson gets in the way. Now Liverani on the counter. Owen has a go at goal. Way off target. Finnan takes throw in. Ambrosini. Back to Finnan. Zayaleas catches him and gets booked. But nothing comes of the free kick. There's the final whistle. And what a massive win that is for Gazelles.
Yeah, and I don't think they did much second half.
No, they didn't at all.
Wow. Robbed.
There's no matter how many trial games against Roma you play, you can't legislate for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And pulls Astor back into kind of the mix with 7, 8, 9, 10, rather than kind of making them 1, 2, 3, 4.
And just imagine the pressure that's putting on Northern Burn now as well. Big time. Let's have a look then. A very, very solid defensive display, it has to be said. And a player that you all know very well, Alexis Smertin, dominating in midfield.
Yeah, that blocker 3 has done really, really well from him. And also, Bramble hasn't been too bad from there as well.
I think Bramble's capable. He's never going to be a Nesta or a Montero, obviously, but I think he's capable at this level of putting in a decent performance.
Yeah, agreed.
Ian, who I think did Byrne have double the amount of attempts that Devils had? It's just, but bloody hell, I give up.
Again, we don't know what we think we know. Honestly, we're clueless.
And I mean, you mentioned it before, Hannah. You mentioned the job Martin was doing with Seedorf, but look at that performance: 34 out of 45 passes. He's won 3 out of 4 tackles, 5 out of 6 headers. He's had 1 shot, 1 goal. Literally, I mean, he's as good. Seedorf's done individually everything you could really ask of him there.
Yeah, and the reason why those ratings are so good is because Astor have created so much and haven't scored.
Yep.
So it's totally skewed. It looks as though Gazelles have played a blinder, but actually Astor just haven't took their chances, and that's why the ratings are the way they are. But yeah, fair play. That's a massive win, and that really leaves Northern Burn rooted at the bottom of the table.
And it's not like one person can be blamed. Looking at that stat you were just referring to, Owen had 3 chances, 1 on target. Rossini had 3 with 3. Liverani had 2. Franca had 3 with 2 on target. What was the? I'm surprised actually that Barthez only rated an 8. In fairness, when you consider the chances on, I suppose only 6 of the 12 are on target. But he's certainly saved them all, hasn't he? And put in a solid performance. But yeah, just a case of Astor failing to convert.
And they've been clinical, I think, so far this season. I think they've had a 3-0 and a 4-0 where they've not created much, but they've took chances. So yeah, it keeps us interested by chucking up mad results like that.
No, absolutely. You can go to bed now, Martin, and have sweet dreams in the knowledge that you've picked up a very valuable 3 points. Is this the penultimate game? It is indeed. And defending champions Dudley Hill at home to Fullchester, who until Friday night were unbeaten. And then Duggan rocked up poorly, Woodder rocked up to do subs, and this happened.
Yeah, but the red card I think killed it as a spectacle. I think
was it 2 penalties as well? Yeah, 2 penalties as well.
Yeah, it's all and Veron scoring against them obviously, which is a tough one to take. Yeah, look, Fullchester are going to be amongst it this season, regardless of results like that. But this is massive. This is the difference between kind of losing 2 on the spin or potentially removing the last undefeated record from the last team in the league.
Correct. So these 2, before a ball was kicked, sits 2nd and 3rd. And again, it's early. We're what? Game week 8 is more or less a third of the way through the season. But we also know that Haggis won tonight. So they've already got another 3 points on top of that. So they're 6 points ahead of Dudley, 7 ahead of Fullchester going into this game. So already you're thinking whoever loses it, that's already a bit of a gap, isn't it? The form that Haggis are in.
Yeah, and I know Buffon, I've just seen Buffon suspended as well, obviously, because he got sent off, didn't even click.
Yeah, and the FA refused to rescind that one either.
Nedved with a backward arrow, I like that. Like that a lot. Is that Damien Duff getting a start as well? Yeah.
It is Damien Duff getting a start.
Decent. And I think Gattuso's up there amongst the kind of highest passes completed in the league as well. So, and Nicky Butt just does Nicky Butt stuff, doesn't he? So yeah, I think to be fair to Steve, I actually think Steve has looked more impressive than the season when he won it, especially this early on. So this is a real big test for both.
Absolutely. As you were saying, it's important not to get in a bit of a run of losing. So Macca will be desperately trying to avoid defeat in this. I've just asked him if he wants to confirm a captain. So while we do that, let's move on. This was one that you actually engaged with on Twitter as opposed to waiting for the show, where Rodeo Bibbins asked, are the team actually dragons or do they destroy dragons or both?
It should just be dragons for me. Dragon Destroyers is a bit gimpy, isn't it? Like, sounds like a bit like a knockoff Power Rangers thing. Yeah, it should just be the dragons. We are the dragons.
We are the dragons. A bit like how they're still referred to as Swindon Devils, but everyone just calls them the Devils.
The Devils, yeah.
Very MLS franchise. Arca ineligible against his parent club. Roy Mackay still injured. D'Alessandro comes in for Nikiforenko. Yes. And Sergio comes in for Johnson. Lizarazu also back in the team for this one as well. Again, it has been a while since you've been on, but you were very vocal and very happy that Steve won it. And as you say, he's been just as impressive, if not more impressive, since winning it.
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine that winning it does give you a little bit of a what will be, because you've kind of proved yourself at the top table. So I actually think that stood him in kind of good stead. He's got nothing to prove now. There's no pressure on him. Regardless of what happens after this season, he'll have won once in this iteration. But I actually think it looks more impressive, more solid front to back this season.
I get the sexy Fullchester away kit. He's been as bad as Carl Froch since fighting at Wembley, says Maka. Score prediction for the penultimate game then, please.
Ones each.
One each. Let's find out. Evening all set. Oh, evening Mega Horse. Free for a change to tune in for a bit. Shevchenko on 14 minutes opens the scoring for the away side. Another player who I don't think contributes nearly enough for a player of his reputation. Dudley Hill coming forward trying to look for an equaliser. But Fullchester have a little bit of pressure themselves. Galadzi's shown a yellow card. 37 now on the clock. Shevchenko getting involved again. Lucio very involved. Beckham now coming forward. He's back for the first time in a couple of games. We get to half time and it's 1-0 to the away side, and that unbeaten record is certainly under threat, Duggan.
Yeah, Fullchester looked a better side for me there from kind of start to finish. Dudley didn't look as though they were creating anything massive. Yeah, but it's been a bit of a strange one for home teams tonight. They've kind of not really created much, but have got over the line. So it'll be interesting to see which way this falls for Dudley.
Well, let's have a look at them first. And the first thing that jumps out is Galadzi, well below par by his normal standards tonight. Sergio finding it a bit difficult in there against Gattuso. Ferdinand, a player who Steve seemed to be getting good numbers out of, but unsurprising with you in the co-commentary chair that he's being average.
Yeah, the curse of mine and Rio's awful relationship over the last couple of seasons. But I think you always worry when there's one MC against two, and I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, Fifey. That Gattuso and Van der Vaart are just a little bit too much for Sergio in there by himself.
Yeah,
be interesting to see what Steve does.
Well, while we wait to see what Steve does now that he's back, let's see what other questions you were submitted. Which two managers would be the best WWE tag team?
Dimble and Rob Sloth. And I'll tell you why, it would be like Psycho Sid and Doink the Clown. Dimble would just be like stone faced, like the Undertaker, coming in, power bombing fuck out of people, no emotion. Rob Sloth would be running around kegging people and low blowing them and pieing them in the face and tickling them with his dick in their ear and that. So yeah, Rob Sloth and Dimble.
Steve making a change. Sergio for Alex, swapping position with D'Alessandro and taking the arrow off. So quite an attacking looking change that for Steve in an attempt to get back in the game. Let's have a look at the Fullchester stats before I go back. And I mentioned Lucio seemed very busy. 22 passes, 16 complete. He's made 4 tackles, completed 3 of them. He's also won everything in the air. The ball's just attracted to him like a magnet at the minute.
Look at Nedved. Nedved's had 1 kick of the ball all game. 1 pass and 2 headers. That is bizarre.
It's unbelievable. So you've got Lucio and Gattuso basically on a 2-man mission.
Yeah, and the front 3 doing an out. That's weird. I think 5 shots and 5 on.
I'm looking at those stats and it makes me think. I can't remember if we've discussed this before. Are you a fan of watching the Soccer Aid games?
Not really, no. But if it's on, I'll watch it.
I remember one a few years ago where the rest of the world had Ronaldinho and Berbatov in the same team. Yeah. And from the halfway line, they just flicked the ball up in the air and were passing it to each other and the ball did not touch the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I don't watch it. Seeing like James Corden play with Ronaldinho, it's fucking awful. It's an absolute disgrace.
Maka doesn't think he knows what to do, but he's sticking as is.
I agree, Mac. I'm not sure what you would do here. You've had 5 shots and 5 on target, and half your team haven't even kicked the ball. Nuts.
Dimble saying the save's broken.
Just waiting for Jens to pop up and say a redraft.
The rest pointed to the spot. Nedved's got a second kick of the ball and converted to the penalty. As we hit the tactics break, so a penalty to Fullchester is converted. It's now 2-0 to the away side. Filippo has to be coming on here, but who for, do you imagine?
I don't know. I'd maybe push Lizarazu and Zanetti on, drop one of the DMs and go people with 3 up top maybe.
Yeah, I could see it working. Or even you could push Zanetti, Lizarazu on, but put Alex back there and bring Inzaghi on for Lizarazu potentially.
Yeah, good shout.
Oh no, Steve's going one at the back.
Good lad. Love that.
Ferdinand off. Inzaghi on.
See you, Rio.
This is what the tactical break was made for. Shit like this happening.
Get them arrows on the wing backs as well. Steve,
bomb them on.
Come on.
Come on, Steve. If you're going to go for it, go big. Well, he's still got time to confirm if he wants to do that. We'll make the sub and have a look at Fullchester. 2-0 up. Nicky Butt on a yellow, perhaps considering that. Van der Laan coming on, maybe?
I think you'd probably just roll. I think maybe if you're being extra picky, drop Nedved back to AM or MC. Just try and block out the last 15 minutes of the game, maybe half an hour of the game.
While we wait for his confirmation, we briefly mentioned him earlier, but Scott said, talk to me about Ashley Live without getting erect. Proof required.
Too late. I've just shot me muck. He's great.
I think other than the actual serious questions that got submitted, that is all of them. So I'll scroll back up for the end of the stream for the more serious questions. In the meantime, if you've got any other questions you'd like Duggan to answer, then fire them through in the chat. Nedved for Van der Vaart, then swap Van der Vaart for Curtis and play 3 at the back. Wait, so is Van der Vaart playing up front? Oh, with the back of arrow, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Nedved. Wait.
Nedved for Van der Vaart, swap Van der Vaart for Curtis and play back 3.
Oh, yeah. No, I've done that the wrong way around. Like that.
Yeah.
Van der Vaart for Curtis. And if I remember rightly, he's a DRC, so he'll want it more like that, won't he?
That's the one, I think. He's having a little mini heart attack.
Yeah, no. Yeah, don't worry, Macca. Duggan noticed that I'd done the wrong player. Swap Van der Vaart for Curtis. And then Steve did come back and say wing back arrows to FR and what, all the way up?
Go on,
Mr. Rasu will die.
Go on, lad.
Well, let's see how those changes affect things. It's still 2-0 to the away side.
This is season 1, stay right this.
See the fucker out, says Macca.
24 Magnus deep, high on birthday cake. He's had a great day.
Macca's put piss off, Steve. You did see it out, and it's finished. Dudley Hill 0, Fullchester 2. So that's all the unbeaten records gone now, Duggan.
Yeah, and it's a bit weird because Sergio in the MC and no Arca just seemed to make a massive difference for Dudley. Arca's been great, I think, since he came in. Yeah, no shame in that, Steve. Fullchester are a great side.
So this is a great point. I'd like to ask you the question here, Doug, and I'm not sure if you saw the picture that's gone viral online. Yeah. If you were 10 years old and your dad made you wear your school shoes when being a mascot at Wembley, and what age would you murder him in his sleep? If you haven't seen this picture, by the way, it's worth seeing this Sunderland mascot who's had to go in his school shoes.
Yeah, you'd absolutely cave his head in, wouldn't you? I mean, he's never going to live that down, that kid. That's him for life now.
It's a bit like the Leeds fan that cried when they got relegated. This is now the Sunderland fan that wore his school shoes.
Yeah, they were very shiny as well, weren't they?
They were very shiny. And they were like slip-on shoes. They weren't proper shoes.
Yeah, bless it. You'd have thought someone would have sorted them with some trainers. If I saw that, if I was one of those players and I saw that kid in them, I'd be like, here's my size 12s, just walk in them as best you can.
I do know that one, I'm not sure what the official name is, so I'll just go with the obvious. One custom trainer manufacturer has posted on Facebook in the EFL fans, both Championship and League One pages, because obviously me being an EFL nerd, I'm in all of these groups. If anyone knows who this fan is, please get him or his parents to get in touch, and we will make him some customized Sunderland trainers for future wear.
Yeah, and that's. I thought it was pretty good because when it first happened, people were ripping it out of him, and then quite quickly the tide turned into kind of
feel sorry for him.
Don't be a dick. He's a kid. Like, leave him alone. So the kind of best and worst elements of the internet there.
Tato's saying the kid rocked up in his full suit and shoes as required, but forgot to pack his trainers. Bless him.
Yeah, and they weren't exactly like knockoff kick-ass boots from like Lidl or Aldi, were they? Do you know what I mean? They looked like they were decent, like probably Armani or Gucci bloody suede shinies. Like better shoes than I've ever had.
Macca said he looked like an undercover Italian drug dealer. Do you know what? I didn't know. If Tato's right, and that's genuinely what happened, I'm just seeing here, saw it was said by his family on Twitter. So he was wearing a £200 watch, so he definitely isn't short of a few bob.
There we go. His parents probably voted Tory, so it's all right. Ribbon lads, get into him.
Let's move on to the individual stats.
Hashtag no politics.
Eric Addo, despite defeat, Addo picking up man of the match. Steve's been championing him since sort of middle of last year as a key member of this squad. He's finally proving what a few people have said he's capable of, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I mean, there's players in there that have performed really, really well, but actually collectively as a team, they just haven't really done enough at the top end of the pitch.
As for Fullchester, big win for them off the back of the defeat last time out, and that's the difference, isn't it? You look at the 1 to 11. Forget Curtis, who came on with half an hour to play. Just solid ratings throughout the whole team.
That's Fullchester in a nutshell, really, isn't it? That flat four across the middle, just doing enough to get the job done. Clean sheet, scoring more than the opposition. That's classic Macca, that.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Macca. Commiserations, Steve. That will certainly have an effect on the table as we go to the main event of the evening. Dragons at home to Spartak Sloths, and it's your side first. You had a fair few absentees last time, and a couple come back in, most notably for me, Bishkan.
Yeah, he's been great. A really, really good acquisition on a loan deal from Macca. And yeah, decent first 11 from front to back. I dropped the bollock with not having Simkoviak in the 25 from the off, and he's came in and he scored 2 and assisted 1 in 2 games. So I think we'd have probably been a couple of points better off, especially in that run of 3-1-1s we had if he had been DMR, because it's just a little bit more balanced to that side in terms of creativity.
Well, I asked Dimble on Friday, because I think you started Friday's action in like 11th maybe. And I said, given the business that you've done, was he expecting maybe a bit more? As you say, the form's picked up last couple of games. So you think it was just a slow start, and now you're starting to get the right cogs in the right places?
It's a weird one, really, because the Northern Burn points looks poor when you compare it to what everybody else has done to them, but it's still Northern Burn. The 2 games we've lost, we ended up with 10 men, beaten by Devils and Bostock, both with 10 men, which is no shame. And I just think this is the time of the season where you need to iron out the things that work and don't work. Think Hodgie with Devils a couple of seasons back when he really didn't do anything early doors, but just kept calm, just went about it. And I think we're just having a bit of fun with this. It's kind of the 3 Dick Dragons last outing probably in the Super League as a kind of collective. So I reckon if we're within 3 or 4 points with 5 to play of the top 6, then we'll be happy with that. And we still haven't got Maxim firing, really. So we're doing okay, and Segalgo hasn't turned up at the party yet.
Sloths go into this with a few absentees. Rakoba injured, Amoroso injured, Solari suspended. So a change in tactic. They go 4 at the back. And in fact, a bit sort of an old school 4-4-2 diamond with Tolly partnering Pizarro up top. Are you slightly surprised by this?
Yeah, I'd love Swan to pull out when the last time 4 at the back was played. That's really interesting. And I know Hodgie had kind of said in one of the chats, I think the other night, that he was kind of going to have to go away and look at what was going on to try and make something a little bit better. But Pizarro's been class for them. Pizarro's been really, really good for them. And I think come the next draft, I think people will be looking out for Pizarro and trying to get him on the cheap. It's still a Hodgie side. And I think I think there's one set of stats that Swanee chucks out where Hodgie's the best performing manager in terms of kind of points at each club he's been at or something like that. So yeah, Hodgie's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3 managers in the league, I would say.
Oh yeah, completely agree. More praise for you. I remember Ian throwing one in earlier. Macca this time, shout to Duggan. Our respective business made both our teams better, he said. Whereas Ian was just praising your analytical work on co-commentary earlier in the thread. So as you're playing, I won't ask you for a score prediction. Tato, wow, what the fuck is that formation? Absolutely hate 4 at the back, but delighted to see something different. So I won't ask you for a prediction, just say wish you the very best of luck. Also wish Hodgie the very best of luck as we kick off the final game of tonight's show. 3 minutes in and Dragons have their first attempt. Now Sloths coming forward. Both teams having it. And there's Sigalko, the man who, quote the manager, hasn't got firing yet. On 14 minutes opens the scoring. Pizarro getting involved but not being able to actually have an opportunity. Dragons look like they're coming forward a lot. Sloths, it's a lot of the defenders seeing the ball in the commentary. Free kick, Risa fails to convert as Dragons come forward again. And a couple of set pieces, but Ningmatulin does well. Pizarro and Tolly working together. Risa having an opportunity. David's working very hard in the middle of the pitch. 34 now on the clock. Ningmatulin lets it run free. And Dragons through Sigalko make it 2-0. And celebrations now in the commentary box as Pedrinho on the stroke of half-time goes off injured. Have we seen Hodgie in the chat at all tonight? Even if we haven't, it doesn't mean he's not there, as I often get pointed out for, but I don't think I've seen him. Essentially, we're at halftime. I'll show you the stats shortly, Duggan, but what have you made of the first half?
Decent, mate, decent. Yeah, I said Sigalko hasn't really joined the party yet, so it's good to see him get a couple for the first time.
8 chances created, 6 on target, 2 goals, as you say. Sloths have created. They're certainly not out of it, but you've taken your chances, whereas they haven't.
Yeah, pretty solid. Pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that without being massively spectacular.
Well, as you get the live feed, let's have a look at the away side first. And interestingly, again, aside of a lot of low numbers here, but the benefit of that is the high numbers are generally the more attacking players.
Yeah, so they're obviously kind of creating stuff at the right end of the pitch. I'm wondering how much of those low numbers are the kind of flat back 4. Mm-hmm. They're just not actually able to get to where the action's happening, which is always the danger with 4 at the back, I think.
For those who like to have a look, you can see there that Pedrinho's injury has left him on a 44% fitness. Let's let you then have a look. Sigalko rating a 9 at halftime. David, I mentioned, working very hard. His name kept popping up. Although I thought he'd maybe made more tackles than that, than just the one, but he's certainly working hard in terms of passing. Ekiog doing the hard defensive work in terms of 5 tackles. Not a lot of not so much aerial side from the defensive. So a lot of the stuff in the air is being done attackingly. I can see that Sigalko's going up and Veron. Bishkan, for what is there, is working hard aerially as well.
Yeah, solid, and we'll go as is, mate.
You're going as is. Hodgie, move left back and right back to wing back. Do you still want arrows or no arrows, Hodgie? If you could just confirm that for me. While I wait for that confirmation, a jokey question that did come in from Tato. What will happen when Haggis is back free, get injured, suspended at the same time?
It looks as though that might be coming with the amount of yellows they picked up. It'd be interesting to see what they're looking at. And again, they've never been a side that have really been blessed with a massive depth. I know Ian has got like 3 players in his reserves that aren't greyed out. So yeah, that'll be when it'll be a real test.
Arrows confirmed by Haggis. So let's kick off the second half and see how his changes affect things, and go to 60. 55 on the clock as Dragons look to make it free. Sigalko with the chance and Ortega. Sigalko another one, missing his hat-trick chance. Could that come back to bite as Sloths go on the attack? 63 on the clock, still 2-0 to yourself, Duggan. Normally the home side get to make the changes first, but as you're seeing the live feed, we'll allow Hodgie to go first. Are you fairly confident at this stage, or are you still looking at the Sloths team thinking the form Pizarro's in particular, if he gets a chance, this game isn't over?
Yeah, Pizarro's league top scorer, isn't he? So you think a chance falling to him, he's going to get one. I think hopefully we just see this out now.
Well, Hodgie's going as is. How about yourself?
Yeah, just as is, please, mate.
Sticking as is as well. Let's see what, if anything, changes in the last half hour. Dragons coming forward again. Sigalko with another opportunity. And now Parfanov and Tolly. And plenty of Sloths opportunities just in this last 5-10 minutes. And I know the gap's 2, but with only 12 minutes to play and it being the last game, let's just slow it down a little bit. Sigalko, corner kick. Kivu heads it clear, but Saeed picks it up, and Veron. Matulin gets the ball, but his distribution isn't done. Into the final 10, into the final 5. 87 now on the clock before anything happens, and Tolly picks it up. And still Tolly from 20 yards. 3 minutes to be added on, which we've moved into there. And that should be plenty. Yeah, full-time whistle goes. It ends Dragons 2, Sloths 0. But an entertaining game, to be fair, Duggan. Both sides go, another one of those where both sides going at it.
Yeah, chuff for that. Hodgie is absolutely no mug at this game. So that is a really solid win, and 2 back-to-back wins with 2 clean sheets as well. So, and Sigalko, that's what we brought him in for games when we've not been great, but he pops up and buries the ball. So yeah, and from a kind of management point of view, there was a few little different instruction-y things went on there with Sigalko for the first time. So hopefully that's a little bit promising that we found the right formula.
Balgaran worked hard for Sloths, as did Patsasoglu, but it was just one of those where generally there's a lot of sixes there, isn't it? I mean, you look at Pizarro, for example, he's had 4 shots all on target but failed to score, but his pass completion rate is very low. His aerial win rate is very low as well. So it looked like as they were getting the ball forward, he wasn't able to hold it up, and it was just coming back again.
They looked much more solid when the 4 at the back was dropped, didn't they? And I think they probably would have created much more if they had played the DMR all game.
Hodgie just saying there, well played, Duggan, too good for us. Having a look at your stats there, Sigalko, obviously man of the match for his brace. Bishkan continued to perform very, very well. Ortega offering a good outlet in terms of attacking as well. And Shiotis working hard between the sticks just to maintain his clean sheet.
Yeah, solid front to back. That's probably our best performance of the season so far, I would say, from front to back. And really, really chuffed with how well Veron's doing. I know his rating kind of doesn't tell you that there, but in terms of actually on the individual player stats, in terms of passes and how much he was involved, I know some people kind of were a little bit unsure when we brought him in as to whether he would actually do it, because he hadn't really been spectacular for Fullchester. But that is a really good performance with Bauma to come back in next game as well.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the classifieds then. In reverse order, we had Northern Burn 1, Devils 2, Boston 2, Churchtown 1, Lettersford 2, Halls 0, Haggis 4, Bostock Stanley 1, Gazelles 1, Astor 0, Dudley 0, Fullchester 2, and as we've just seen, Dragons 2, Spartak Sloths 0. Let's have a look what that does to the league then. Let's start at the bottom. Northern Burn still remarkably without a win out of 8 games, and now on that record-breaking games without a win run on 1 point. Already a 5-point gap to Sloths, who are in 13th. 6 points, just a 1 win but 3 draws, and showing performance-wise that they're capable. Gazelles' second win of the season moves them up to 12th on 8 points. Churchtown there 11th on 9. Then we've got Bostock on 10 alongside Halls on 10. Moving up to 9th, Astor sitting 8th on 11, and then yourself, Duggan, sitting 7th on 12. a point behind 6th, 5th, and 4th, which are Loco, Dudley, and Lettersford. A point further ahead of them is Devils. Fullchester, a further point ahead of them on 15, 4 points behind current league leaders, Haggis Hunters. 20 goals scored in 8 games. Incredible work really there from Haggis. A third of the way through the season, as we said, Duggan. Has anyone, I mean, obviously Haggis I expect to be the answer to this one, but for either good or bad, has anyone surprised you?
Yeah, I think obviously, we all fancied Burn to be amongst it, and Ian's got a really tough job on there to kind of turn it round. I think Tato has been, good, surprisingly good, in terms of how solid they've looked over the last couple of games. I think that's 3 wins with 3 clean sheets now back to back.
If you look at Lettersford and Loco in particular, but even a bit further down, Halls and Bostock are good examples as well. If they could become these teams that can just turn 1 or like 50% of their losses into draws, they'll soon, even that just that point will soon see them rocket up the league, won't it? Because their wins are actually decent numbers for where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Swan posted a stat a few weeks back where it was like, if you're on 15 points after 10 games, then you're highly probable to be making the playoffs. So that's 2 games to get however many points you need from that second spot down. I do think it feels as though Haggis, Fullchester, and Dudley are going to be kind of the top 3 this season. Probably then with Lettersford, and then I think the rest of us, it's a total lottery from there downwards. I think a lot of us have gambled on strong first 11s this season for strength of squad, as Dragons have, and I think it'll be down to a bit of luck in terms of yellows and reds and injuries and stuff.
Well, you've kind of taken the thread there anyway, but the last 2 questions that I'd saved for the end was to predict the top 6 and predict player of the season and top goal scorer.
I think player of the season will be Jeremy's, because I think he'll just keep dominating in that solo DM. A top scorer is a weird one, because I think the players that are on top of that chart at the minute.
8 games in, Hussein on 6.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Van Nistelrooy, or I think tonight could be the start of Segalgo getting off the mark, because I think that's 3 he's got now. So hopefully tonight's the start of Segalgo hitting some superb morale and starting to take chances.
See, me personally, I'd love to see Pizarro up there. I think he has shown previously he's got potential, and with Hodgie in charge, Hodgie's the sort of man that can unlock that potential to do it. I'm looking at that thinking that Montella missed the first 2 or 3 games and he's already joint second. This could be the year that he goes and hits 20, 25.
Yeah, I think the thing with that though is it's probably Loco's AMs in behind him are not the best. So if he loses one of those, or if one of those goes down, or is missing for a couple of games, but yeah, Montella's probably, I would say Montella's probably been the most consistent striker from start to finish of this iteration, with Segalgo.
I think Penza deserves a mention in that one as well.
Yeah, I think he's fell off a little bit of a cliff though. Do you not think the last 20 odd games he's not been as prolific?
A lot of last season he was injured. I think every time he played he scored last year, but he missed a lot of games.
Yeah.
Top 6 in order. How do you think it'll finish?
Haggis, Fullchester, Dudley, Lettersford, Devils, Dragons.
I was going to say, you've got to put yourself in the top 6, surely.
Yeah, if we're within 3 or 4 with 5 to go, and we're not struggling too much with injuries, then we'll fancy it. But it's a really complicated game made that easy, like a really easy game. Sorry, made dead complicated because we don't understand it. Like, you win your home games and draw your aways, you're going to be flying. But as if only it was that easy.
Well, quite. Listen, it has been an absolute privilege to have you on this evening. I know people love it when you're on because you offer both intellectual and humorous content.
Cheers,
So
mate.
thank you very much, and also for doing the bulk of the work as well, because my voice is really struggling to hold up at the moment.
Oh,
I'm not sure what's caused it, but I think it might have something to do. My mum was asking me about it, and I said, well, since I got back from Rome last Friday, I think I've now done 3 streams and 3 podcasts. So I think I've only done 2 days where I haven't done one, and one of those was watching Swindon on the telly. So obviously there was a lot of shouting that day as well. So maybe I just need a bit of vocal rest.
absolutely. And the heat and the wine and the beautiful women out in Rome have obviously, you've been chatting the face off loads of women out there, Fifey. So you just need to rest.
I was doing my bit for English-Italian relations, obviously.
Good lad, good lad. It's a beautiful place, Rome. It's unbelievable. It's where I proposed to the missus in Rome.
Did you?
Yeah, on stage at the ballet and the opera.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
One of those where she couldn't possibly say no because that would be awkward as fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Although she did start shaking her head when I whipped it out. But that's because I tricked her so many times, like in weird places, like getting down on one knee and pretending to pull out a ring, but sticking the middle finger up at her.
Yeah.
So she thought it was a piss take.
Just one more thing before you go, because I know Tato in particular will have a meltdown if I don't.
I think we've got Haggis next.
You think you've got Haggis? Well, let's find out. Thursday night's fixtures. We've got Astor against Bostock, Dragons against Halls. You got the right letter.
Yeah, we've got Haggis. I think we've got Haggis and Dudley in 2 of the next 5, I think.
Dudley Burn, Gazelles, Devils, Haggis Loco, always an entertaining fixture. Lettersford, Churchtown and Sloths versus Fullchester. If you are interested in doing comms for that one and following Duggan's example, then please drop me a message. Be nice to have, whether you've done it already or you haven't done it yet this season and you'd like to. Even if you're not a manager in the Super League and you just like to come and chat some shit for an hour and a half to 2 hours, then please drop us a message. We'd love to get as many people on as possible this season, and everyone is certainly welcome. Duggan, thank you very much again. Always a pleasure. Don't be a stranger. We'll see you again in a few weeks, hopefully. And good luck on Saturday.
Cheers, mate. As always, Fifey, just on behalf of everybody in the league, you're a top lad, and we all appreciate the graft you put in, mate.
Thank you very much. Also, we said it Friday, but good luck to Forest next weekend. And good luck to Grimsby on their great tour of England, trying to get their way back into the Football League. And anyone else's teams who have still got stuff to play for that I've probably forgotten about, good luck to them as well. But from me, from Duggan until Thursday, packs will be out tomorrow from Super League HQ. Goodbye.